Of the pieces of kit from Beez Combat Systems I've been able to get my hands on and test, none are more intriguing than the Spectral Flage blanket system. This blanket is a multi-layered, berry-compliant cover designed to enhance concealed positions and hide your thermal signature from drones and thermal scopes. My specific version is the ATAX IX, which I think does a better job of concealment in between brush and trees than multicam does. The best system I've found is to use bendable gear snakes to tie the blanket up between either opposing tree branches or bushes deep within a hide. This gives maximum cover from thermal and allows me to still see targets as well as the drone through the thermal mesh. The blanket is visible in this clip, but because it is so hard to spot, I'm going to go ahead and switch it over to the thermal spectrum. This footage was filmed from a Flir thermal sensor with a resolution of 640 by 512, designed for police and first responders. It's filmed at a height of about 300 feet. Before I reveal my hide position in the clip, I want you to try and scan and find me, like you would if you were a thermal drone pilot. "300 feet is already a bit unrealistically close, but I'd like to bring it down lower and really stretch the legs of the Beez system, show just how good it is. Here we are at literally level with the Beez blanket. I can run behind it and become almost invisible to the thermal. If you look very closely, you can see my thin thermal outline, but this is well beyond what the blanket was designed for. Here I am lifting it up to show that there's nothing in between the thermal and the blanket. Now let's get the thermal as close as realistically possible to the blanket and show how it can still be effective. Here I'm throwing it over a bush. Finally, at this close distance, I'd like to show an emergency situation where you'd have to cover yourself quick, how the blanket can work temporarily to hide you. However, this is not a long-term solution because the blanket will eventually heat soak from touching you. Now I'd like to go ahead and switch to some nighttime footage with full kit on and show the effectiveness of the blanket. I try my best to match conditions shown in current Ukrainian conflict videos and how those thermal drones are being used to target fighters. Here you can see our group being tracked by the thermal drone at nighttime, approximately 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Let's jump ahead to where one in the group is now hiding using the Beez blanket, and I want you to try and spot his thermal signature. Now he's changed position and the drone is going to go ahead and try and come in closer and find his heat signature. The blanket does an excellent job hiding his position until he begins to move in these cold conditions. This blanket was more designed for summer temperatures, and 45 degrees is a bit on the edge of what it's designed for. Also keep in mind, in this clip, he is holding the blanket directly over himself. It's not being suspended like it's intended. In a real life scenario, you would never want the blanket in contact with you because the heat from your body will spread through. I want to show one last clip where the blanket is now being hung up between two trees, and it is doing a very good job of hiding, despite the drone's low altitude. This position and suspended setup is exactly what the blanket is intended for. In this clip, I want to demonstrate the blanket's ability to dissipate heat quickly and dry quickly in comparison to a cotton sweatshirt. Notice the sweat stains left over that refuse to dry. Overall, the blanket has really impressed me with its ability to defeat the thermal drone's camera, even from such close distances. I think for anyone serious about gear, this is a required piece of kit. I also think that we'll be seeing more of these on the front lines of current and future conflicts. I'm going to throw in some extra clips from a Flir Reap IR scope while I give my final thoughts. Keep in mind these clips were filmed in the dead of winter around 25 degrees Fahrenheit, which the blanket is not intended for. And these clips were filmed at such close distances as to be completely unfair for the blanket. You can see in this clip the blanket has been double layered and hides his thermal signature quite well for how cold it is out. You can also see how the gear snakes holding up the blanket have held onto the heat from the previous home they were in and do not dissipate the heat nearly as well as the blanket. While this blanket does an excellent job in all of the tests I've put it through, it is not foolproof. You need to use a little bit of creativity and brains in order to maximize its thermal effects. It is a hide enhancer, not a hide in and of itself. Pricing starts at about $430 on Beez's website directly and typically remains in stock. I hope this video was a good overview of the system, and if you have any questions, feel free to hit it up in the comments, and I'm usually going to be pretty good at replying. So, all right, I'm going to quit rambling and just let some B-roll send me out.